Institutions have spent decades dealing with the friction of the old system, not because they preferred it, but because there was no better alternative. And now there is. So when you see real world assets on the XRP ledger go from 24 million to 1.8 billion, that number is telling you something specific about institutional behavior that has nothing to do with retail sentiment or price speculation. It is telling you that the people managing serious institutional capital have evaluated the XRP ledger as a settlement and custody infrastructure and decided it is ready to hold real financial assets at scale. Let me put that growth in context, because I think most people might hear the 1.8 billion and they don't fully process the trajectory behind that. In 2023, total real world assets on the XRP ledger was approximately 24 million. That is a small number. It's experimental. These were early adopters doing proof of concept work. By 2024, that number had grown to approximately 568 million as more institutions moved from evaluation to actual deployment. And by 2025 into 2026, the number crossed 1.8 billion, representing a 75 times increase from where it started just a few years ago. Now, here's what makes that trajectory significant beyond just a raw number. The growth is accelerating, not decelerating. The institutions that moved early validated the infrastructure for the ones that were still watching. Every successful tokenization on the XRP ledger reduced the perceived risk for the next institution considering the same move. This is how institutional adoption actually works. It doesn't happen all at once. It builds in waves where early movers create the proof of concept that opens the door for the next tier of capital to come in at larger scale. The 1.8 billion is not the destination at all. It is the proof of concept phase completing itself and the next wave beginning. And here's a detail that I want to add to this. Every single one of those real world asset transactions on the XRP ledger requires XRP to pay the transaction fee. So every bond tokenized, every fund share issued, every credit instrument settled on chain, each one of those transactions burns a small amount of XRP permanently. So the RWA growth is not just an adoption story, it's a supply story happening at the same time. More institutional activity on the ledger means more XRP is burned forever. More XRP burned means less supply. Less supply with more institutional demand flowing from multiple directions mean the conversation about this asset's value looks completely different from anything most retail investors are currently modeling.